Good evening, class. We're going to start in hero's pose, sitting on the block if you need, or several blocks if you need. And we'll just allow ourselves to settle down. So the knees together, we want the block underneath the sitting bones, so portrait works easier. And the heels either side of the hips, toes pointing back. So big stretch into the ankles. We'll just take a moment to breathe slowly, eyes closed, and relax the shoulders. We're going to take about 2 minutes here. Let's try and let the leg muscles relax as well. They will complain a little bit to start with. Those calf muscles be tight, the thighs will tighten up. But after about a minute or so, start to get easier. Right, if you let in the heart rate settle. Hopefully close to the floor. It's a little cooler in this warm weather. Now we use the hands to lift up and lean forwards. We'll move the block out front of the mat, stretching the legs out gently. And then when you come down, we'll take the knees wide so that toes together, we can sit onto the heels. Walking the hands into cat's paws. So we're going to be high, shoulders over the wrists, and maraud a little bit from side to side. Just shifting the weight through the sides of the wrist. Getting the knuckles to press down into the ground. So working on a big stretch in the tendons of the hands. And then we'll turn the hands, fingers out, thumbs forward. At this point, you can still rock gently side to side. Just manage the amount of effect that that's having on you by how far you sway from side to side. For some people's wrists are tighter than others, and the gaps are smaller between the bones. The distance you can travel will be less. Take a final breath and then turn the hands towards us with the fingers pointing towards the groin, thumbs pointing out to the side, hands a little head now of the shoulders. If you're lucky, the hands still on the ground. Belly drawn in a little bit, shoulders relaxed. And at this point, we've stopped swaying from side to side. Enough of a challenge to be in this position. Take a breath from there and let ourselves lift up slowly. You can turn one hand so the palm is up, stretch the shoulder back quite quickly. Do the same with the opposite one as well. Stretch that out, make sure it feels happy. And then we'll bring the hands right into the front of the mat. You'll allow ourselves to come into a plank. And then we're going to start to walk the feet in slowly, a few inches at a time. So we lift carefully from the plank into a forward bend. It's very slightly different from starting in down dog and moving in. End result just ends up at the end of the front of the mat. It's still a little bit different as we come in. Bring the hands under the hips and let ourselves lift up. Put hands out to the side. Inhale. Try to take the hands together above the head if you can, but if not, just above the shoulders. We'll exhale down. And inhale up again. You'll press into the feet, so the foot actually feels like it's spreading out wide. Unconstrained by a pair of shoes, the feet can spread out a little more. Belly's drawn in, ribs are pressing down. Knees away gently. Inhaling up. Now, take the hands forwards and lift up on the tiptoe. Bring the hands down, see if we can let the heels come to the ground in time with the fingers reaching the hips. Inhaling up. Rolling down gently. A little roll on that one. Inhaling up again. And easing our way down. Inhaling up. And back down. We'll take that one more time. Now bring the hands in towards your heart. We'll soften the knees gently. And then moving into chair, we drop the tailbone down a little further. We keep the spine nice and long. Keep the hands in towards the heart. Belly slightly drawn in. And then we'll let ourselves lift back up. We'll wiggle the toes together now, just a little bit of a gap between the ankle bones. Soften the knees again, knees over toes. Squeezing the thighs together. Just sit back a little deeper, see if we get to the same place, still with the belly drawn in along the thigh. And then carefully lift heels away from the ground. And then we'll let the heels come to the floor. Now we're supposed to lift up. We'll put the arms out wide as we breathe in. Bring the hands to the heart as we begin to exhale. We're going to soften into the forward bend, slightly bent knees, fingertips to the ground. Allow the feet to then move about hip distance apart. Take another breath and send your left foot to the back of the mat. Come up onto the fingertips, resting the ribs against the thighs. Try to let the shoulders relax away from the ears a little bit. We'll drop the back heel down onto the floor. Then hands alongside the body. Take the left arm forward to cartwheel into our warrior two. Now bring the hands high. Rotate out towards the front of the mat. We're going to keep the hands above the shoulders. We're going to lay the belly button down onto that thigh. And then the ribs. Then the hands can come down to the floor. We'll step into the forward bend. Hold on the exhale down. Take a little breath, bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees, let yourself lift. Take the arms out and wide again as we inhale. Bring hands through the heart. Soften the knees again. We exhale down to the floor. Take a breath. Right leg goes back into the lunge. On the fingertips. hips below, front knees over the ankle, give it a little check. Make sure your back leg feels strong, and then drop the heel in. You're pressing the foot into the ground on that back heel. Lifting gently. Right arm comes forward. Slowly lifting up into our warrior two. Try and relax the shoulders at this stage. Let the groins open, so front knee moves towards little toe. Back leg and foot presses down into the sole of the foot. Bring the hands high again. Rotate out towards the front of the mat. Belly button down first. Hands stay out in front of the shoulders, then the ribs, then the hands come down. We take a little breath. We let ourselves step into that forward bend. On the exhale, we hang. Bring the hands onto the hips again. Let ourselves lift up. Keep the hands high on the breath in. Let the exhale lead us to the floor, Uttanasana. Taking a breath as we arrive, sending the left leg back. Dropping the heel in. Put the arms alongside, lift into your warrior two. Take the hands immediately high as we breathe in, rotate out. Hands above the shoulders until we get that connection with the body on the leg. Stepping back, down dog. We'll do the left leg. Draw the knee in towards the chest. Bring the foot through. Take a breath here. We're pressed into that forward bend. Hang a little. And then bring the hands onto the hips, soft knees and a flat back to lift. We'll take the arms wide again, all the way through. And down. Soften knees, belly drawn in. Take a breath. Right leg back. Drop the heel in. Lift into our warrior two. Get the hands high. Rotate out. Strong hands. Palms facing. Then the hands come down. We step back into our down dog. We'll move into plank. Take a little breath. We're going to bend the elbows, come into half plank. Then we're going to let the body come all the way down to the ground. Untucking the toes. Take the hands down to the bottom of the ribs. Inhale for low cobra. Exhale it down. Inhale it up. As usual, very little weight in the hands, more stability. Coming up to number 3. Easing into number 4. And the final lift with our 5th breath. Elbows squeezing together. Bring the hands wide, like to press up onto the fingertips. And exhale, drawing the belly in, gecko pose. We lift the chest. Ease our way down. Inhaling. Using the exhale, the shoulders drawn back a little away from the ears. They come back down. You don't need to be too deep into this, just as long as you can feel the spine lengthening out of your pelvis. And you're able to draw your belly in sharp towards your spine as you exhale. We'll take one more lift. And then we come back down again. Hands to the bottom of the ribs. Peel away from the mat. Take a little breath. Sit back onto the haunches as if we're taking child's pose, but the toes remain tucked under. Now from here, we're going to take a breath and see if we can lift into down dog. The alternative would be to come into tabletop onto all fours and then lift from there. If you can, you just draw the belly in strong and press those feet and thighs downwards to come into your down dog. Take a little breath from there. tiny little steps walking towards the front of the mat. Inching our way in to the forward bend. Last little bit of a walk towards the front of the mat. Now we'll bring the hands onto the hips, let ourselves lift up. Then hands wide again as we inhale. Bring the hands through the heart. Up on the knees as we exhale down. Take a little breath. We'll send the right foot back this time. Drop the heel in. We'll come into warrior two. And then we're going to take reverse warrior. So we're going to turn the palm. One hand up, one hand down. We'll walk the back hand down the leg. Reach the top arm out as straight as you can. Come back. Warrior two. Get the hands high. Come down. Bend the back heel from that lunge so we get ready to come forward into the forward bend. And at this time, we're going to lift the heels off the ground, soften the knees, allow the buttocks and the heels to touch. And we'll slowly take the fingers away from the forearm in front until they're in line with the shoulders. The toe squat. Ease the hands down to the floor. Just on the fingertips will do. Take a breath. Now we're going to see if we can lift the hips high. Keep the heels off the ground. Fold into straight legs. And then ease the heels to the floor. Bring the hands onto the hips, soft knees and a flat back to lift up. We'll take the arms out wide again on the inhale. Through the heart. Into the hips and down. Soften the knees. Breath in. That left leg's going back into the lunge. We're dropping the heel in. Lifting into warrior two. Always able to adapt the warrior two lift. Hands on the side if you wish. Turn the palm on the front hand or leading towards reverse warrior. We want to walk the hand down the back leg, which should be lovely and straight as we press into that flat foot behind us. And let's stretch the top arm up and over. Front knee pretty much stays where it was, hopefully, directly over the ankle. Carefully lift back into warrior two. Put hands high. Allow ourselves to come down to the floor. In the back heel. And take a breath. Ease into that forward bend. Fingers just a little ahead. Heels rise. Bend the knees again. Ribs and thighs touch. And then we squat down. We're on the heels. Heels are away from the ground. We take the hands out in front again. We take our 5 breaths. Belly in. Move the hands to the floor. Just a little out ahead. Still keeping the heels off the ground if you can. It'll be shaky tonight. Lift the hips up towards the sky. We try and keep the ribs and the thighs connected as the hips go high. Take a last breath and ease the heels down to the ground. Hands on the hips. Take a breath. Let ourselves lift up. Now we're going to bring the feet together again. So big toes touch in that little heel gap. And we'll soften the knees over the toes and drop ourselves into chair. You can take the right hand onto the outside of the left thigh and take the left hand forward. Take a breath in. As you begin to exhale, allow your left arm to swing out to the side. You're going to take it to the center line of the mat behind you, whilst your eyes stay glued to the fingertips. Inhale it back. And then the eyes travel and the head travel therefore. cross over the hand so you can then take your right arm out with your left hand on your right thigh. Breath in. Use the exhale to swing the arm gently around. You're trying to keep the hips and the knees pointing in the same direction, which they started. Forward. Bring hands back again. We'll swap that out to the left. Plenty of rotation in the spine. See how close you can get to the center line of your mat with your arm. Coming over, opposite side, right arm goes out. And then coming back. Drop the hands back over. Arms come together so the thumbs are pointing towards you at that point. As you straighten the legs, you let your arms lift. As your arms come up towards your ears, press your feet into the floor. Feel the thighs and the buttocks lift. Look towards the hands. Ease into that long back bend, lifting the spine up. Now release the arms out to the side. Hands into the heart, breath in. Take the feet again. Hip distance apart. We'll take a breath. Exhale down to the floor. And step back into warrior two. So lunge first. Heel drops in. Hands alongside the body. We'll lift up. Turn the palm. Ease into that reverse warrior. Come back up. We extend out over the front thigh, or extended side angle. Take the bottom hand down and just wrap the top arm around so the palm can come onto the base of the spine. Good. Glasses are sliding off. Okay, going to take a little breath. Lift the top arm up. We'll take that towards the front of the mat. Then let the chest turn down so you can bring both hands onto the inside of the front leg. And we'll start to walk the hands around to the long side, turning the toes in. Little wiggle to adjust. Up on the fingertip, belly's drawn in. So again, we let ourselves ease down, but it's belly button first, the back space flat. Then the ribs, then the chest, then the chin, and the crown of the head. Press into the feet, squeeze the thighs together. Let's lift up. Walk the fingers through to the front of the mat. When you're ready, moving from the lunge into a forward bend. Hold. Those hamstrings a little time to settle. And we'll lift up, low again. And hands high, breath in. Through the heart. Exhaling down. Taking the breath. That leg goes back. Drop the heel in, warrior two for the lift. Into reverse warrior. Coming back up. Extended side angle. We'll lengthen out. Hand comes down gently. Top arm comes around, palm into the base of the spine so that we can open the chest easily and that top shoulder to the long side of the mat. Able to press down in one hand and 2 feet, so use them all. Up arm lifts, arm turns forward. Extend the arm out straight to the front of the mat. Then turn the chest, bring the hands down on the inside. We're walking to the long side of the mat. Again, just the opposite way around. Time to adjust your feet out wide. Just make sure that your toes feel like they're pressing in. Heels around. Again, we lift up on the fingertips, take the breath. We start to fold gently, just as we did before. Only this time we'll see if we can take the hands, the imaginary line between 2 feet. Squeeze the elbows a little together. Press the feet into the floor, tailbone lift. And then we'll take the hands forward so that we can walk them around gently to the front of the mat. To our lunge. Spin in the back heel. Take a breath. Rest off the back foot. We're into the forward bend again. Hands onto the hips. And we can lift up. Get hands high on the breath in. Hands through the heart. Soften the knees. We're exhaling down. We'll take the left foot back into lunge and drop the knee to the floor. Make sure your left hand is on the ground. Now we're just going to wiggle the right foot out to the corner edge of the mat as you bring your hand onto the inside of that leg. Bring the toes out to the side a little bit. Let the knee hang out onto the side. You want to flex that foot on the side edge. You're going to slowly take your right hand forwards and lift up. Now watch your fingers as they roll over towards the back of the mat. Now the corner of your eye, hopefully you can see a foot that belongs to you. You bend the knee and bring the foot to the hand. Let the hips sink down. Let the knee hang out. Ease the heel into your buttock. Roll the shoulders back. The chest lift to the sky. And we can release. Move the hand over. Foot down. We'll make it easy tonight. Wiggle the foot back in on the front leg. Lift the back knee. Take a breath. We'll push off the toes. And in to that forward bend. Make it even easier. We won't come up. We'll take the breath. Bring the right leg back. And drop the knee down to the floor. Right hand on the ground. We wiggle left foot out to the side edge. Turn the toes out. Flex the foot. As the knee drops out, we go onto the side edge. Left hand comes towards this time. Up towards the sky. Looking towards the fingertips. We'll drop it towards the back of the mat. Hopefully something that looks like a foot is hanging out there. And we bring that in. And try and rotate the ribs up towards the sky. Ease the top shoulder behind you. And then we can release. We'll bring the hand down. Wiggle the foot in again. Lift the knee. Up on the fingertips. We'll step into that forward bend. Hands over the hips and the lift up. Move the hands high on the breath in. Bring the hands through the heart. And we'll exhale down to the floor. We're going to step back with the right and the left foot into a plank. Now we're going to take side plank, but we're going to take the right foot about halfway up the mat, so heel just on the edge. Then roll what is your leg behind you onto the side edge of your foot and allow yourself to lift your hand. Now you're going to take a breath and see if you can lower your hips towards the ground a little bit. Then you're going to lift them up as high as you can. Then you'll come back down again. And you'll lift up as high as you can. You'll come back down again. Lift up as high as you can. Coming down, just making sure your spine feels happy about this. Inhale up. Last time. Bring the arm over, step it back. Down dog. Or draw the left leg through. The lunge onto the fingertips. Hit the breath and press off the toes. Into the forward bend. Hands come onto the hips, we'll lift up. Put the arms out wide on the breath in. Hands into the heart. Exhaling down. And we step the left and the right into the plank. This time the left foot comes up halfway. Take a little breath. We roll onto the side edge of the foot to lift the left hand to the sky. Make sure your hand is underneath your shoulder, otherwise it's a little bit too strong. Drop the hip as low as you dare without letting the shoulder drop. Inhale up and press the combination into the front foot and the back leg. We'll come down again. Lifting up. Coming back down. Lifting up. And down for number 4. And back up. And we come down for number 5. And back up. Back into plank. The down dog. I'll draw the right foot forward into the lunge. Take a breath. Twist off the toes into a forward bend. Forward down deep. Hands come onto the hips and soften the knees. Let ourselves lift. Inhale the hands high through the heart. And we'll exhale down. We'll step right and left leg back into the plank. You take a little breath and lift slowly your right foot off the floor. Take a little breath from there, bend the knee, roll over, onto the left side. So now your right foot is flat to the floor and you're on the side edge. Take a little breath. We'll soften down towards the ground. Lift up. You can press into feet a little bit easier on this side. Coming back down. And lifting up. And down. Strangely enough, easier to lift, but seems more tricky to balance. 4. And 5. As you come back up, roll into your down dog. And we'll slide the right foot through between the hands. Up on the fingertips as we take the lunge, strong back leg, we twist off the toes into that forward bend. And fold. Hands under the hips. Off knees and lift. Take the hands high again. Hands through the heart. Exhaling down. Stepping left and right into plank. It allows us to lift the left foot, bend the knee, fold it over, take the foot to the floor behind us. That's left hand high. And sink. Bottom down to the ground, give it a little kiss, press back up. And back down again. Rest to come back up. And back down. Number 3. He's very strong on the shoulders. 4. And 5. So really good for the obliques. We come back into down dog. We'll draw the left foot through into lunge. Take a breath. Whew. Step our way back. Hands over the hips. Lift up. For the first time, a little bit of a pause to breathe. Come forward, mountain pose. Okay, so we're going to take a lunge, down dog side squat, into a side plank. Inhale up with the hands, into the heart, exhale down. Step left and right to down dog. And take a breath, have your feet, at least your feet or your foot distance apart, because what we're going to do is pivot on the balls of the feet. So now the right foot flat to the floor, kind of side edge pose on the left foot. From that down dog position, I'm going to start to bend my knees out to the right side and bring my bottom towards my heel. The right hand is on the right hip, but this time. I press through the legs to straighten up into side plank. Then take that right arm out towards the front of the mat. Sink back into the squat with the hand by the side of the hip. I lift back up. Now I find that I can kind of move the bottom foot around a little bit. So the top leg foot doesn't really anchor me around. The back foot gives me a little bit of more balance. Move around into. We'll come up for the last time. And then roll it over. Ooh, regular down dog. And we'll take the left foot forwards into the lunge. Take a breath. Forward bend. And with those hips, and we'll lift again. We'll take the hands high once more. Hands through the heart. Exhale down. We're stepping back, right and left into our plank. Into our down dog. Feet set, right distance apart for us. We take the feet over towards the right this time. Lace up and bend your knees. Left hand onto the top of the left hip. Stretch up and over. So you bring your shoulder over your wrist. Rest out through the legs and top hand float towards the front of the mat. We come back in. The squat. Let ourselves lift. And come back. Squatting down. And press out again. Number 4. The top arm needs to be powerful. Really get the stretch into the side of the body on the upper side. Ooh, and then back into our down dog. And we'll take that right foot through. Take a little breath. Step into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips. Let us lift. Another little breath here for 30 seconds. And then we'll begin again. The hands come high. Hands through the heart. Going to exhale down to the floor. Going to step the right foot back and the left foot into down dog. This time I'm going to scissor the right leg high, holding down dog. Bend the knee as a raised leg. I'm going to start to pivot on the left lower foot to take my right foot over the top into split dog. The foot comes down gently. Hips stay high. All of the foot in that rear leg. Open the chest to the sky. Going to come back. Try and pivot myself back into down dog. Draw the knee in towards the chest as I come into plank. Ooh, and bring your foot into the lunge. Take a little breath. Step it forwards. Hands onto the hips. And we lift up. One more side to play with. Hands come high. Through the heart. Exhaling down. We're stepping left and then right. Down dog. I'm going to scissor. Left leg high. Bend the knee. Bring the heel in towards the butt. Start to pivot slowly on the bottom foot. As that left foot goes out, you kind of spot where you're going to land. Ease yourself to the floor. Keep the hips high. Roll the chest open. Take a breath. And try to lift yourself slowly as you can into your down dog. Drawing your knee, left knee towards your chest. Bring your foot into a lunge. Nice and slow motion with all of that. Take a breath. Ooh, step into the forward bend. And hopefully that block is still out of the trunk. I'm going to take that behind the heels. Step. And then I'll sink. And into a squat. We're not going to press the legs out into any degree. We're just going to let the arms sit on top of the knees. I'm just really using this as a way of having a little bit of a breather. Belly's drawn in, shoulders nice and relaxed back, working into my hamstrings, my glutes, my lower back muscles for me. Not staying there too long. It was only a little mini rest. We'll take a breath, hands come to the floor again out in front. We'll lift up, we'll take the heels off the block and drop them gently to the outside edges of the block. Feet flat on the floor. We'll move the block out to the side edge again. Now take a little breath and send your right foot to the back of the mat. Walk the fingers around to the long side. Turn the toes in. Bring up on the fingertips with a very flat, strong back. And then walk your fingers around through an imaginary circle towards your rear foot. So see if you can take hold of your ankle and draw your chest towards your thigh. And careful not to pull your head in. You want to sort of keep that following the line of your back. And just turning your chest in. Trying to keep the legs nice and straight. Keep pressing into the floor a little bit. More than okay with you to have the hands on the floor if taking the ankle feels a little bit wibbly wobbly. Now we'll release the hands to the ground anyway. And we're going to walk the fingers around in a big semicircle to hopefully the front edge of the mat. First to take hold of that ankle and ease the ribs and the heart towards the knee. Elbows out wide, shoulders away from the ears. You want to make space so the blood flows easily into the head and back out. And then we'll walk ourselves back to the center of that long side semicircle. Taking a breath. We'll take the feet a little wider if we can, toes in. And then we'll see how far we can go into that forward bend. And since it's very hot this evening, I'm finding my feet are sliding out, which is not good. I'm going to cut that short before I lose my balance and lift back up. That doesn't happen in the winter. We'll walk around to the front end of the mat, take a little breath, step back into down dog. We have to bring the thighs back together and then bring the knees down to the ground. We'll let ourselves sit on the heels. And we'll move the block now from the front of the mat, so about halfway down. Doesn't matter which side, just as long as you know where it is. We'll bring the feet out towards the front, and we want to squeeze towards the front of the mat a little bit. We're going to come into bridge pose. And take a breath, roll the spine down into the chest until the shoulders and the head are on the ground. Now I want to walk the feet about hip distance apart with the heels slightly out. We have our fingers pointing up towards the sky, palms facing in, and press the elbows in towards the rib cage. You're going to stretch out through the fingers, so the thumb and the little finger get as far apart as they can. And then I'm going to begin to gently press the back of my arms down in towards the ground. Now I want to be careful that my arms don't sort of splay out to the side of the elbow, so I want to be quite conscious of how that feels pressed down. So take a little breath from there. You know, start to draw the belly in, let the lower back come into the floor, and then peel the spine away from the ground. The tailbone lifts into bridge pose, pressing down through the stem, back of the arms, keep pressing up. Robot arms still working for me. And ease the hips down to the floor. Release the arms. Release them a little bit more by taking them up towards the sky. And then dropping them to the floor behind us. Gently. I'll take a couple of breaths with the arms out here. Release that middle back in between the shoulder blades. And we're going to bring the arms back up. Bring the elbows back into that robot arm, so pressing down, taking a moment to kind of get a good position. When you're ready, you're going to press down through the shoulder and the arms. The belly button draws in and the lower back curls gently away from the floor, the tailbone lifts. Room for second bridge. Only this time we're going to see if we can take a little more weight or a lot more weight into the right leg and lift up on the tiptoes of the left. Bring the knee then of your left leg above your hip and extend your toes up towards the sky. And we'll bend the knee, bring the heel in towards the groin, use the foot down with control. We're still keeping the hips as high as they were. We're still pressing down through the backs of the arms. We take the weight this time into the left leg, so we're up on the tippy toe on the right side. Knee comes up over the hip, the leg extends up, pointing the toes. Almost said poison toes there for some reason. And then we'll bend the knee again, bring the heel into the groin, and the foot eases to the floor. Take a breath, and we roll the spine gently down to the ground. Now walk the feet in as closely as you can to your bottom, knees together. Take a breath and draw your your left knee in towards it. Put your hands and interlace them around the back of the hamstring, low to the groin. We'll stretch that heel up towards the sky or flex foot. I'm going to press the thigh into the hands, so I'm getting a decent stretch around the back of the shoulders and into the neck area. And we're trying to get that neck nice and long. So observe a neutral position between your chin and your chest. Heels pressing up, hips drawing down, toes spreading. And then we'll bring that foot to the floor. And we'll gently take the other leg across, up. Take a little breath. But then you preempt what I'm doing after this. Taking the heel high again. Put back down to the floor. I'm going to pick the block up and just put that behind the back of the head, so it's under the head, not into the neck or the shoulders. We take the arms out wide in line with the chest, palms up. We're going to shimmy the hips over towards the left side, and then bringing the feet together, knees together, thighs together, letting the legs roll over to the right side. Trying to keep the shoulders on the ground, and turn the head very lightly to the left as well. And use the right hand on top of the legs, and add a little bit of weight into the twist. And we'll lift the legs up slowly. And the same, just taking hips to the right. Legs go down gently over to the left. When you're ready, left hand comes on top of the thighs, a little bit of balance. Turn the head very lightly. You're right. And I'm going to bring the legs back up. And allow myself to realign the spine. And then Just using the toes, we're going to walk the feet to the end of the mat. Letting the heels move to the corner edges. Slide one heel along the ground till it's fully extended, and then the other. Let hands come out to the side. Now, you don't want to have your arms in a crucifix position, but you don't either want to have your hands right next to the side of your body, somewhere in between where you can let the most amount of heat out of the armpit underneath the body. Let's roll out. Hopefully, the body feels pretty relaxed at this stage. We've used a lot of big muscles slowly this evening, so it's actually burnt quite a lot of energy and created a fair amount of heat without us getting really terribly out of breath in the process. But we felt very controlled, hopefully. And you'll definitely notice that your shoulders feel like they've done some work. So we just try and let ourselves be as still as we can. Just noticing the rise of the belly and the drop on the exhale. And maybe a little bit of a thump of the heart in the chest. Lift the fingers forward. Breathe a little deeper. No wrist and the ankles too long. Feeling more aware of our body now. We can take a big stretch in any way that feels good. And we'll slide the heels one leg at a time in towards us. So that we can recover the knees in towards the body. Gently taking the hands around the shin. An easy rock from side to side to build some momentum. And then using an exhale to float gently to the right side. The legs from the feet come to the floor. We turn the chest down to that side. The hands are underneath. Perfect position to press up. Usually on the exhale. Back to sitting. Pull, hands in towards the heart. Closing your eyes, taking a longer breath. You're going to slowly exhale, letting your chin drop. Finding that bow forming slowly. You see our practice for the evening. Breath comes in, we build the spine on the exhale. And the head lifts. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me on a sunny summer's afternoon. See you again on the mat soon.